everybody, welcome to my YouTube channel. It is Ella Ty. Thank you so much for clicking that button. I guess that the title kind of enticed you. What are standards and how to get some? So we're gonna sit down and talk about standards, how to get some, why they are important and why they mold your relationships. So sit back and relax, comment, rate, and subscribe to the channel. Tell your friends to subscribe, tell your friends to subscribe, share this video, and just sit back. So a lot of us kind of get into this headspace where we meet somebody spectacular. We're like, oh my God, who is that? He's tall, he has great teeth, he dresses nice, he smells good. I need to know him. I need to know. And the thing is, like, you know, okay, that's fine. Those things that kind of draw you in are great. And you want to get to know them better. And I feel like sometimes, like, I kind of go through this as well when I meet somebody that I'm really like just infatuated with or just like in awe of. All of my standards kind of like go right out the window. I mean, like, they become non-existent. It's like, what do you mean assertive? What do you mean communication? He's cute, I'm cute, we're together, it makes sense. And sometimes our brain kind of goes to like mush and we kind of forget what our standards are. So, what are standards? Standards are communicated expectations. They are things that you have to basically talk about, you and this other person that you're interested in, whether it's a friendship, a relationship, a partnership, whatever it is that you are embarking on with this person. They're communicated expectations. They're realistic, communicated expectations that become standards that the other person in that situation can abide by. Now let me tell you what is not a standard, okay? Let me tell you what's not a standard. I'm gonna give you a couple of things that are not standards. Things that are not standards are like, you have to be 6'5" to date me. Or, I only deal with dudes that have sports cars. Or, I like scammers. Those are not standards. Those are not standards. Those are changing things. Like, people don't remain 6'5" for the rest of their life. If you deal with dudes with sport cars and he doesn't pay his bills on time, his car can get repossessed. Or if you guys have a kid, you may have to get a minivan or a sedan. And if you like scammers, and I guess you like visiting guys in jail. But those are not standards, those are preferences. And regardless of what your preferences are, you cannot let your preferences cloud your judgment when it comes to your standards. So let me tell you what a standard is. A standard is, I need to hear from you 3 times a week. That is a standard. The disappearing act is not okay for me. That is something that can be met, as opposed to a preference that can change. Your preferences always change. Your standards should be unchanging parameters within your relational realm, whatever that is. I'm gonna give you a couple of my standards. A standard for me is, I should hear from you daily. I should not go, if we're embarking on a serious, committed, honest, open, monogamous relationship, and I don't mean open as in like, you know, you're dating somebody else and I'm dating somebody else. I mean open as in communication. If we're embarking on a very serious partnership, I need to hear from you daily. That is a standard of mine. Another standard is, if we're dating, we have to be friends before anything. We have to be friends before anything. I don't want a guy that's just my boyfriend, as in like I kiss him, we do the nasty, he goes home, he takes pictures with me, that's it. No, I need an active participant in my life. That is a standard. Another standard is, what's another one of my standards? You have to take me on dates for us to get that intimacy and quality time that you're looking for. That is a standard of mine. I do not do Netflix and chill if we have just met each other. If we have a rapport and I've known you for months and we have an established dynamic and friendship, then of course I don't mind going to your house and hanging out with you. But there has to be steps in order to get there. Those are my standards. Those are just some of my standards. Another standard is, you have to respect me at all times, in public and in private. That doesn't change. Like, a lot of us, we think that, you know, our standards can kind of like bend and be accommodating. You cannot accommodate when it comes to your standards. Your standards are the framework of the person that you want to date. That's literally what they are. Your standards are the framework of what you want to date, but they're also communicated expectations. For example, if I want a guy that's consistent, honest, loyal, communicative, hands-on, a go-getter, motivational, that has to be who he is. That has to be who he is. And my standards have to articulate that. But I cannot sit there and expect you to be all those things when you are not. Does that make sense? I'm really hoping that makes sense. Another thing when it comes to standards is, you cannot let your standards, you cannot bring your standards down because you met somebody that may kind of make you go gaga in the head. Like, you know what I'm talking about. Like, there was a guy that I liked not too long ago, and I thought he was Future Bae. Like, people on my Instagram know him as Future Bae, so if you're on my YouTube, I'm just gonna make this very quickly. I met this guy that I connected with instantly. It was just like one of those moments, like one of those really stop and stare, one of those moments, like where like you walk past somebody and you see them in slow motion and they see you in slow motion and bam, there's a chemistry. That is what I felt when I met this person. And this person honestly had a lot of qualities that I liked. Very articulate, very driven, very focused, but not consistent, not communicative, doesn't make time for me. And I was willing to bend my standards because I was like, oh, he's just busy. Oh, he has a lot going on. Oh, he does this. Like, I always had an excuse for why he was not making time for me. And it's like, you cannot let your standards waver because you meet somebody that gives you that, oh my God, that moment, that stop and stare moment. Don't get lost in that stop and stare moment and have it blind you or make you forget your standards. And I can definitely say I forgot my standards when I met this person because I was so quick to accommodate for them and what they were doing that I was willing to put my standards to the back burner with the hopes they would meet them because I saw a lot of potential in them. I hope that makes sense, but that is literally something that I went through when I decided to, like, you know, embark on dating this person. I know a lot of us go through that, like, you know, and I'm not exempt from that. Trust me, I'm a person that when I feel something for somebody, oh, it's on. It's like tunnel vision. I don't see nothing else but you. But you know what I also don't see? My standards. It's like, where'd they go? Like, next thing you know, over here at this dude's house, like, not saying this ever happened, but like when I get tunnel vision, I forget, I see you, but I don't see my standards. And it's like, because I don't see my standards, I'm more willing to bend. I'm more willing to say, oh, it's not a big deal, or oh, don't worry about it. Oh, don't stress it, it's nothing, but it's something. You should be concerned about that. So what do you do when it comes to dealing with somebody that may give you that instantaneous moment where you kind of go mush in the brain? What do? I'm gonna give you some steps. 1, take a moment. All right, that was a great moment when you met this person, you felt this chemistry, this energy, cool, that's fine. But pay attention to their actions afterwards. Words are very pretty, they're very enticing, they're awesome. Like, oh my God, like you said something that I've never heard before. It's so great, we're gonna get married. I'm naming my kid Marcus, we got 2 dogs, we got a car, we live in California. You're planning your entire life off of a couple of words. But where are the actions? And that is where your standards come in. Your standards come in to really solidify the words with the action. If it's like, oh, I wanna go on a date with you, your standard is, well, I only go on dates. Keep that in mind, remember that. Remember that. So take a moment. Take a moment. If you like the moment, if you talk to your friends about it, cool. Your friends kind of bring you back down to reality. Don't fight them on this. Don't say, oh, well, you don't understand, you don't know. 9 times out of 10, your friends can see when somebody's trying to bypass your standard. When your friends will always see his shortcomings before you see it, because you're blinded by what he has to offer you, because he probably fits something. He may fit your preference standards as like what he looks like or how he speaks or what he does for a living. You see what I'm saying? But although he may fit those surface standards, he's not fitting those mindset standards, those action standards, those communication standards, those that consistency standard. He's not hitting that. You see what I'm saying? So your friends will always see somebody's trying to bypass your standards. And when they point it out, don't feel bad. I know it's kind of hard because I kind of get like that too. I get really defensive, like, oh my God, well, you don't know him. They know you and they know your standards. So let them point it out to you. And then when you interact with this person again, you assert your standards in a very strategic way. Like, you can't come full force at somebody when they just met you. You can't sit there and say, where have you been? I haven't heard from you in 2 days. You can sit there and say, you know what, I really enjoy your company and talking to you is really something that I find interesting, but inconsistency is something I really can't tolerate. So if this is gonna persist, then I'm gonna have to slowly but surely back off. Something like that. Like, you know, you're complimenting them, but you're also still asserting yourself in a way that where they feel more enticed. It's like basically finding that perfect balance of salty and sweet. You have to know how to be that perfect balance of salty and sweet when it comes to asserting yourself and speaking on your standards. Now, if that person falls in line with your standards, then that's a good thing. And if they fall out of line, then they're not for you. And they're way more efficient to see. They're way more efficient to see. They're way better people that are gonna sit there and look at your standards and say, psh, that's nothing, I got you, and I can do more than that. I can't wait to meet that guy. I guess he's so fucking great. Like when he's like, oh, I got you. All right. I'm like, okay, like, it's not a big deal, whatever. But when I meet him, I'll know because my standards, he'll go above and beyond them, but he'll meet them and then he'll go beyond them. You see what I'm saying? So keep that in mind. Another thing when it comes to like really sticking to your standards, write them down if you have to. Write them down. Sometimes they get lost in translation when you meet somebody that makes you feel a certain type of way. Write them down. If you have to have them in your fucking notes on your phone, write your standards down. Really sit with yourself and say, what exactly do we want? What do we want? It's like, think about your perfect guy or your ideal guy as a pizza, and your standards are the topping. So the pizza will be like your end goal as in like a relationship, but your toppings are the standards that kind of go within that relationship. You want to create the perfect pizza. What toppings do you want on your pizza? You can't just sit there and think, well, I want a pizza, and then you get a plain pizza and you're unsatisfied. That's when you're living with expectations. Standards are communicated expectations when it comes to embarking with somebody in a relational realm. So keep that in mind. Write your standards out. If you have to have them on your phone. Also, another thing that helps when it comes to really holding true to your standards, your friends. Talk to your friends about their standards, because you can pick and choose what you like or what you don't like. What my standards may not be your standards, and vice versa. Like my best friend, she said, I will literally stand outside of an establishment until you open the door. And honestly, I started doing that. I'm like, okay, well, I want a gentleman. So if I want a gentleman, you gotta open a door for me. So I'm gonna stand outside this establishment. Oh, why are you standing outside for? Oh, not for me, not for me. Now, some people, they may not get it because, you know, they have their own perspectives of what a relationship is and how a man should treat a woman, whatever. But I want a gentleman. And that's what I want. That's a standard of mine. So you gotta open the door for me. You know, you gotta open the door for me. If you want me to come out to see you and I have to find a way to get there, you should pay for my cab. That's just my perspective. Now, other girls are different. They're like, oh, you're being too demanding. You're being too this, you're being too that. But if you want me to come see you, and I live in Queens, and it takes me 2 hours to get to you, either you come pick me up, or you arrange for an Uber to come get me. I know that sounds like a lot, like, oh my God, like I don't want to inconvenience him, but you're inconveniencing me. Like, you know, like I'm 2 hours on my way on a train. It's dark outside. I'm a female. Something can happen. That's what I'm thinking. And of course, some girls may think you're being too much, you're being extra, but that's just my perspective. I'm not one of those people that think if we go out to eat, you should pay all the time. I'm definitely down with the 50-50 split. That's not a problem. But first date, if you ask me out on a first date, take me somewhere where we can enjoy each other's company and pay. That's just my perspective. Those are my standards. Now, when I get into a relationship with you, I don't expect you to pay all the time. No, I'll pay, I'll treat you. We can go half, it's not a problem. But in the beginning, if you're trying to court me correctly. And some girls, when I speak about this, they're like, oh my God, that's so much, how could you? You're being extra. I don't know, like, how can I put this? I'm top of the line. And you don't get top of the line by doing half-ass things. You don't get top of the line by doing the bare minimum. And you have to hold yourself to that. You have to even hold yourself to that standard. If you know that you are fucking beyond Princess Diana, if you're at Queen Elizabeth status, even if you're at fucking Barack Obama or Michelle Obama status, hold yourself to that standard. You have to have personal standards as well. You should not be okay with somebody trying to undercut you to get your full benefits. And you know what I mean by that? The nasty, the horizontal mambo, sloppy toppy. I'm being real honest right now. People should not be okay with doing part-time work and getting full-time benefits. You have to hold yourself to that standard and not be afraid to say, hey, it don't go like that here. I don't know what you're used to, but it don't go like that here. And then continue to hold yourself to that standard and mold your relational standards as you build yourself up, if that makes sense. So, yeah, don't undercut yourself. Really don't. Because if you undercut yourself, you're giving somebody else permission to undercut you. So don't undercut yourself at all. Like, hold yourself to a higher standard. Another thing when it comes to really holding true to your standards, aside from writing them down, talking to your friends about them, what else did I say? I said writing them down, talking to your friends about them. I said something else. Another thing is talk to the person that you're embarking on a relational journey with. What are their standards? Pay attention. If you go on a date one time, if you go on a date with this guy that you're really interested in, ask him, what are your standards? Well, she gotta be bad. That's not a standard, that's a preference. Listen to the person that you're embarking on a relationship with and see if their standards match yours. Or even see if they know what standards are. Because sometimes, like I said, we don't really know what standards are. We kind of just we think of our standards as preferences, we mix them up. So when you go on a date with your partner and it's someone that you're really interested in, ask them, what are your standards? What are your deal breakers? What are you cool with? What are you not cool with? What do you want in a relationship? What do you not want in a relationship? Ask those questions, especially if you're on that road, or even ask them, do you want a relationship in general? Some people, they get into this headspace where they want to be with somebody so bad that they don't ask the basic question that they need to ask, which is, do you want to be in a relationship? Because 9 times out of 10, you end up doing relationship shit for a fuckboy. We've all been there. We've been there. I don't like it there. It's cold. It's boring there. It's disrespectful there. But we've been there. Here we go. Like I said, a lot of us kind of get into this headspace where we do relational shit with a fuckboy because we don't really talk about their standards, because 9 times out of 10 fuckboys are so smooth that they kind of play to our preferences and not our standards, that we get caught up. We've all been caught up. I've been caught up. Your friend's been caught up. Your mom one time's been caught up. It's not wrong. It happens. It happens. But you have to ask these hard-hitting questions because these are what solidify your standards. People think that, we've all heard that, where do you see yourself in 5 years? Where do you see yourself in 5 years? That's cool. That's great. But you gotta bring it back in. You gotta bring it back into the short term. Because in order for me to know the long term, there has to be a short term in place, right? So let's say if I sit there and say, hey, where do you see yourself in 5 years? And I haven't asked this man if he wants to be in a relationship. Why am I asking you such a hard question when you don't even know if you want to see me in the next 5 months, next 5 days, next 5 minutes? You feel me? Like, no, we're not there yet. Certain questions have to be asked after you've built an understanding of what you guys both want. Do you want to build with me? Do you want to get to know me? Do you want just a friend? And I mean just a friend. I don't mean a friend that kind of ends up on your dick sometimes. I mean a friend. Do you want one of those? Like, what exactly are you embarking on? What are you looking for? And if you say something, if you deal with somebody that says that they don't know, that means that person needs to sit with themselves to figure out what they know. Because you're not going to sit there and convince them that you're good enough. It's not your job to sit there and deal with somebody who has not established their standards and sit there and say to you, well, I don't really know what I want, but I think we can figure it out together. You don't even have the basic, you don't even have the base. It's like trying to build a house with no foundation. You want a Victorian style house, with ceiling to floor windows and like a really nicely paved driveway, but you're building it on a quicksand lot. That's a very unstable foundation. Like, the long term sounds nice, but what about the short term? What's going on with that? That matters just as much as the long term. That's just me personally. But standards are extremely important. And don't try to bypass them, downplay them, accommodate for other people, twist and bend and contort yourself to where you're unrecognizable to who you are. Hold true to your standards. Have your friends hold you accountable. If you have to write your standards on a wall in your room, do just that. And the thing is, as you get older, your standards are gonna change. They're gonna change. I promise you they're gonna change because you're changing. So it's like you have some that are unchanging. Like when I was younger, I didn't really understand. I didn't even know what the word consistency meant when I was young. But now that I'm 23 going on 24, it's like I need a consistent man. I need you to be consistent. I need you to be hands-on. I need a partner, not just a boyfriend, a partner. I need someone that's driven, that's gonna build me up when I'm feeling down. That's what I need in a relationship, And that may even get more complex as I get older, and that's fine. So don't be afraid to add to your standards. It's fine. It's a list that's always going to be growing. Even when you get married, your standards are going to continue to grow and change, because you're gonna need, what you needed from a boyfriend is different from what you need from a fiance, and what you need from a fiance is definitely different from what you need from a husband, and what you need from a husband is definitely different than what you need from a life partner. Keep that in mind as well, okay? So I hope this video helped you guys. Please comment, rate, and subscribe. Write your standards down below. Like, give me your top 5 standards. Ask your, and then let's keep it going. Let's write it. Let's start a standard train. Because what I may find, or what I may need, or what I even may deem as a standard, you may not. Because you probably haven't thought like that. We all can learn from each other. So write your standards down below. Give me your top 5, and then we'll continue this discussion in one of our next Thai talks. Like, it may be a standards part 2, but for what I'm saying right now, write your top 5 standards down. And then just keep it going, keep it going, just keep it going, keep it going, keep it going. I love you guys so much. It was really awesome sitting down behind my camera just kind of talking about this, because a lot of people have asked me about this. I have more Thai talks coming your way, more YouTube videos coming your way, more beauty videos coming your way. I have a skincare routine coming, so please be patient. But with that being said, I love you guys so much, and thank you for watching.